Hola a todos y bienvenidos a otra clase de inglés con Richard. Acabo de me di cuenta que today should be in English because it's level intermediate B1. So no Spanish. I broke my own rule. So remember, this class is if you're a member of my channel, you can join the class. Let's see who we got in the chat to begin with. We got Maria. Hi, Maria. Maria is a member, so she can join the chat or join the conference if she wishes. In the actual conference, we have Clementi. Hi, Clementi. Can you hear me? Well, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Clementi?
Hi, teacher.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, teacher, and you?
Fine, thanks. Are you ready for the class?
Yes, sir.
Good. So, if you want to participate in the class, you need to join my channel, and then you will find the link in the other tab de la comunidad. Both the links are in the or in the community tab. Sorry, YouTube community tab. Both the links I've already posted in the chat. So let's begin the class. The subject today is the passive voice. I covered this a few weeks back, but in Spanish, but I needed to include it in this course, which is B1 or intermediate level. And actually, I think this is class 21. So I don't think there are too many more classes at this level. And then I'm going to go to the B2 level, which is more advanced, is upper intermediate. So the subject of today's class is the passive voice. So let me share the screen. So the passive voice, we're going to start off with an example. We're going to start the class with an example of the passive voice. Here we have an example of the passive voice. The passive, or to give it its full name, the passive voice. So here's an example. The light bulb was invented by Thomas Edison. The light bulb. I've got a light bulb here, but this, I have to turn this off. This thing here is a light bulb. That's a light bulb. The light bulb was invented by Thomas Edison. So we could say the same thing. This is an example of the passive voice. If we wanted to say the same thing in the active voice, which is the way that we normally speak, is the active voice. This is not a tense. The active voice, we would say, Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. So actually means the same thing. On the next page, we've got the same examples, active and passive. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. This is what we call the active voice. And this is the way people normally speak. And the other example is the passive voice, what we're looking at today. This one down here. The light bulb was invented by Thomas Edison. So these two sentences mean exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. The difference is, and later on in the class, next I want to talk about the structure. And then after that, I'll talk about the uses of the passive voice. But while we're here, let me just mention what is the difference between these two sentences, because they mean exactly the same thing. And the difference is that this one, the focus is on Thomas Edison. I am talking about Thomas Edison. I want to tell you what Thomas Edison did. And in this one, the focus is on the light bulb. So if I were talking to you and I wanted to talk to you and tell you about Thomas Edison, I would say Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. But if I were talking to you about light bulbs, about the history of light bulbs, not about Thomas Edison, probably I would say the light bulb was invented by Thomas Edison. So this is one use of the passive, to change the focus of what we want to talk about. But let's continue before we get into the uses anymore and look at the structure. How do we form the passive? How do we form the passive voice? So here we have the same two examples. What are the changes that we need to make to convert the active sentence, which we have here, Edison invented the light bulb, to the passive sentence, which we have here, the light bulb was invented by Edison? What do we need to do? Well, the first thing that you see, this is a very simple sentence. We have, first of all, we have the subject, the person who performed the action of the verb. And then we have the object, the thing or the person, in this case, thing, that received the action of the verb. So Edison invented, we've got the subject, the person who performed the action, the verb, which is the action, and the object, which received the action. When we form a passive sentence, we need to change the order. The object of the active sentence becomes the subject of the passive sentence. That is to say, the thing which was acted upon becomes the subject of the active sentence, of the passive sentence, sorry. And then we need to change the verb. To form the passive in English, basically we need to use two things. We need to use the verb be in the correct tense. In this particular case, this sentence here, Edison invented the light bulb, this sentence is in the simple past. So we need to put the verb be in the simple past, because here we're not talking about tenses. The passive is not a tense. It can be in any tense or nearly every tense, the same as the active. And in a minute, we'll see how we can put it in different tenses. This particular sentence is in the past. So we are changing we need to use the verb be in the past. And secondly, we need to use the past participle of the main verb. In this particular case, because invent is a regular verb, the past of invent is invented, which we have here. And the past participle of invent is also invented because it's a regular verb, and regular verbs, to form the past participle of regular verbs in English, we just add ed. And it's the same as the past. And finally, the last thing that we have in the passive is the preposition by plus the agent, which is the thing or the person that performed the action. In this case, it's the same as the subject. Now, this last bit here is actually optional. In the passive, we don't need that. So I'm going to put it in brackets so that it's not necessary. In this particular sentence, we could say the light bulb was invented, but without the agent, it doesn't really have much meaning, although grammatically it's correct to say the light bulb was invented. We could change it at the end and say, for example, the light bulb was invented in the 19th century, if we wanted to change that. And then we wouldn't have to even include the person who performed the action. It's not necessary. We could just say the light bulb was invented, but that on its own doesn't have much meaning. So we could say in the 19th century. So there, in that sentence in the passive, we're not actually even including the person who performed the action. It's not necessary with the passive. Sometimes we don't care or we don't know, but that's something we'll look at in a minute. So you can see here how we form the passive. Let's go through it again. First of all, you need the subject, which is the object of the active sentence. Next, you need the verb be in the correct tense. In this particular case, this sentence is in the past, so we have the verb be in the past. The next thing you need is the past participle of the main verb. In this particular case, invent is a regular verb and the past participle of invent is invented. Invented. Don't get the pronunciation wrong here. This is pronounced as a like an id, so it's invented. And that's all we really need to form the passive. If we want to include the person or thing that perform the action or the agent, we add the preposition by followed by the agent. Okay, let's continue and see what we have on the next page. I think we've got the same thing here. Here I have the example that I put up earlier. The light bulb was invented by Edison. So again, this is optional. And underneath, I have the example that I gave. It actually was invented in 1879. This time I'm not including the agent. Let's carry on. Again, let's look at the structure. So the example that we saw earlier, or the previous example, was in the past simple tense. Let's just see if I can get this a bit better. In the past simple tense. So to form the passive in the past simple, we need the verb be plus the past participle. But this can be in any tense. The passive can be in any tense. So for example, if it were in the present simple, we would need to use the verb be in the present simple. So that would be am, is, or are, plus the past participle of the main verb. So the past participle of regular verbs in English is formed with ed. For example, the past participle of clean is cleaned, and the past participle of invent is invented, and the past participle of injure is injured. But as we've already seen previously in many of my videos, there are many verbs in English which are irregular. For example, do. The past participle of do in the present, did in the past, and done is the past participle. Build. The past is built, and the past participle is the same. Sometimes the past participle is the same with irregular verbs, and sometimes it's different. For example, the next one, take, another irregular verb, take. Take, the past of take is took, sorry, and the past participle is taken. So to form the passive, we need the verb be plus the past participle. The verb be needs to be in the correct tense. For example, if I put here a sentence in the present, let's do the example that I gave, that I always give, or I put on the title of this video. English is spoken in many countries. It's in the present, it's passive present. Present simple tense. So here I'm using the verb be in the present because this is in the present simple. But if I put the same sentence in the past, English was spoken in many countries in the 19th century, a sentence in the past, the only thing that I need to change is the verb be. I'm still using the spoken in both examples. This one is in the present simple, and this one is in the past simple. The only thing that we need to change the tense is the verb be. The spoken, the past participle remains the same. If I put it in the future, in a minute we'll see some more examples, but I could put the same sentence in the future and say English will be, verb be in the future, will be spoken by many people in the future. So here we can see examples: passive voice, present simple, past simple, future simple. The only thing that changes is the verb be. The verb be must be in the correct tense. The verb be in the present is am, is, or are. The verb be in the past is was or were. And the verb be in the future is will be. What about if we want to form the negative? We just have to add the word not. So we could say English wasn't or isn't spoken in Spain. Well, actually, English, I should change that. English isn't spoken as a first language because in Spain, many people speak English. English isn't spoken as a first language in Spain. What's next? Let's go to the next page. So here I have some more examples. I don't know, Clementi, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions?
No, teacher.
Do you have any questions? No, everything's very clear. Very clear. Okay, so here I have on this screen some more examples in different tenses, like the ones we saw in the last one, like the ones we saw in the last class. In the previous screen, we saw the examples in the present simple. We saw an example in the past simple. We saw an example in the future simple. And we saw a negative example in the present simple. So here I have some other examples. This can be in nearly all. I think there's a few tenses that we can't use. We can't put in the passive. I speak English. Here on this side we have the active voice. I speak English, present simple. So the passive is English is spoken. And if we want to add the person, it's not necessary, it's optional. We add by, and then we add me. So the two sentences mean the same thing. I speak English, English is spoken by me. Past simple, I spoke English, English was spoken by me. So the only thing that's changing is the verb be. This is what we need to change the tense, the verb be. The future simple, English will be. We got to put the verb be in the future simple. I will speak English active. English will be spoken by me. Present continuous with the verb be plus ing. I am speaking English. English is being spoken. So the verb be in the present continuous is being. Notice that all the time we are using the past participle. That doesn't change. The past participle of speak is spoken. So that bit doesn't change. We only need to change the verb be. What else we got? Present perfect. I have spoken English. English has been spoken. English has been spoken by me. Can also use the passive with modal verbs like can and might. We've already seen will, which is a modal verb. Remember those auxiliary verbs. If we use it with a modal verb, we just put the modal verb plus be in the base form. So I can speak English, English can be spoken by me. English can be spoken by me. So if we got any modal verb like may or might or can or could or should or would, it's just modal. Here's another example. English might be spoken by me. So it's modal verb plus be. Sorry, I did this wrong because actually this bit was supposed to be green. It's the spoken that doesn't change. Spoken is always the same in this example. So it's always the verb be in the correct tense plus the past participle of the main verb. And finally, I was speaking English. Past continuous, this is like the present continuous. I am speaking English now. I was speaking English yesterday. English was being spoken. English was being spoken. So the verb be in the past continuous was being. English was being spoken. Done those the wrong way round. That should have been yellow, I think. Let's do it like this. So let's go through these examples one more time before I continue, and we'll look at the uses of this. So let me read these sentences again. Maybe we could do it with Clementi. Are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna read the one in the active voice. I'll read the one on this side and you read the one on this side, okay?
Okay.
So I spoke English.
English was spoken by me.
Very good. I will speak English.
English will be spoken by me.
Very good, yeah. I am speaking English.
English is being spoken by me.
Good. I have spoken English.
English has been spoken by me.
Good. I can speak English.
English can be spoken by me.
Good. I might speak English.
English might be spoken by me.
Good. Which one are we on? Yeah, English. I was speaking English.
English was being spoken by me.
Very good. Let's have a look and see if I can. I can't actually. I was going to try and. Yeah. Let's see if you can remember. Have you got a good memory, Clementi? What's your memory like? Is it good? Tu memoria? It's good? Maybe not so good.
No,
Let's try
no.
this one. I speak English.
I was spoken English.
No. Anyone in the chat can put this one in the passive? Who can remember? What do we need first? Well, first of all, we need the English, Clementi. First of all, we need the English. So we need to English first, and then followed by the verb be in the correct tense. Can anybody in the chat put this first sentence in the passive? Anybody? No, it's very quiet in there today. Maybe there's sometimes there's a long delay. Yeah, of course, the answer is English is spoken by me. I don't know how that came up, but that is the answer. English is spoken by me. What about the second one? I spoke English. Can you put that in the passive?
English was spoken by me.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, English was spoken by me. I will speak English. I will speak English.
English will be spoken by me.
English will be spoken by me. Yeah, I did have some answers in the chat. Sorry, but the chat wasn't coming up. I did get an answer there from some people in the chat. Seemed to like it was locked. It was hanging. English will be spoken. Yeah, very good, Clementi, and also I've got Vanessa, some other people. What about the next one? I am speaking English. It's a bit more difficult, this one. I am speaking English. Who can put that in? Can you do that one, Clementi? It's a bit more difficult or more tricky, we say in English. Can you do this one, or can somebody in the chat? Somebody in the chat, or Clementi in the conference? No, are you still there, Clementi? What about anyone in the chat? I am speaking English. English is being spoken. Johan Leonardo, very good. Yeah. And also Irma. English is being spoken. What about I have spoken English? I have spoken English. Anybody? Clementi, are you still there?
English has been spoken by me.
Very good. Yeah, English has been spoken by me. I can speak English. I can speak English. I can speak English. I can speak English. Anybody in the chat? Or Clementi? English can be spoken, says by me, says Claudia Maturano. Very good, yeah. And also Vanessa, good. And finally, we got, well, let's just do this one. The last one here. I might speak English. I might speak English. Clementi? Or somebody in the chat? I might speak English. I don't think anybody's...
English might be spoken by me.
Very good, yeah. English might be spoken by me. Good. Okay, good. Let's carry on then. So we've seen the structure. What about the uses? Why would we want to use this structure? Why would we want to use the passive instead of the active? So I've got three, there are more uses, but I've got the three main uses here. The three main uses. The first one is, the first use is when we don't know who did the action. So for example, a laptop was stolen from the classroom. We don't know who stole the laptop. So, I mean, we could say somebody stole a laptop from the classroom. I could say it like that using the active, but you know, the somebody is really, this is useless information because the only thing that would steal a laptop would be a person. So, or a thief, we could say a thief stole the laptop, but it's redundant information. I mean, if something is stolen, we literally say my laptop was stolen using the passive, or my bicycle was stolen. So the first use of the passive is when we don't know who performed the action, or we don't know who performed the action. So we either use an indefinite pronoun like somebody. Another example is 3 people have been killed in the park. So this is here is the passive in the past simple, and 3 people have been killed in the park. We don't know how they were killed. They were killed by somebody, but we don't know who did it. Police are looking for clues to the identity 3 people have been killed. This is passive present perfect. Use number 1. Use the passive when you don't know who performed the action. Use number 2. Use the passive when the person who does the action is obvious or unimportant. This is a bit like use 1, actually. She's being treated for cancer by doctors and nurses. Who else treats cancer? We could, if we wanted to, say doctors are treating her for cancer, but only doctors really treat people for cancer. Bill Clinton was elected president. So yeah, I better add that here being treated is the passive in the present perfect. Bill Clinton was elected president in 1993. Here we have the passive in the past. Who elected him? The population or the electorate of the United States. They are the only people who can elect a president of the United States. So it's useless information to say the United States electorate elected Bill Clinton, this would be the active, as president in 1993. We don't want to say that because it's just obvious. This bit here, the US electorate elected is we're repeating the same information because only the US electorate can elect Bill Clinton or can elect the president. So we would use the passive and say Bill Clinton was elected president in 1993. And underneath it says by the country's population, obviously. All articles are proofread before publication. I hear this word here, proofread, means when somebody writes something to be published, another person reads it to check that there's no errors in it. That's what we mean by proofreading. In English, it's a verb. It doesn't matter who proofread it. We're talking here about the articles. A proofreader read it. And the third use of the passive voice is when we want to give more emphasis to the receiver of the action than to the doer. This is like the example that I started out with, if you remember, at the beginning of the class, with the 2 examples of the light bulb. If I want to talk about Thomas Edison, if I'm here talking to you about Thomas Edison and telling you about Thomas Edison's life and all the things he did in his life, I would say Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. But if I'm giving you a lecture about light bulbs, about the history of the light bulbs, I would say the light bulb was invented by Thomas Edison. Both these sentences mean the same thing, but here the focus is on the light bulb, and here the focus is on Thomas Edison. So we can change the focus of the sentence by using the passive. Here's some examples. Sometimes and here it says, sometimes we do not want to mention who did the action because it's interesting or important in some way. Sorry, sometimes we do want to mention who did the action because it's interesting, important in some way, but we still want to keep the primary focus of attention on the object of the action. So the Taj Mahal was built. Here, the focus is on the Taj Mahal. But we still want to say that we still want to talk about the Emperor Shah Jahan and the reason it was built. But the sentence is about the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal is here, and here's the passive in the past. And underneath I got this note, we are learning primarily about the Taj Mahal. My mother is being treated for cancer by one of the best doctors in the country. Again, the most important person in this sentence is my mother, not the best doctor in the country. But I still want to mention the best doctor in the country, so I use by plus the best doctor in the country. His software has been used by more than 50,000 small businesses. Here we want to emphasize how great the software is. We're not really talking about the small businesses, we're talking about his software. So the three uses: when we don't know who did the action, when it's obvious or unimportant who did the action, and thirdly, when we want to change the focus. There are other uses, but these are the three main uses of the passive at this level. Let's go back and see. We finished that, we finished that, we finished that. I've got some more examples here, I think, before we get some questions. So I've got some more examples. Cheese is made from milk. Passive, present simple. Bananas are exported from Ecuador. Passive, present simple. How often is this room cleaned? So this is the first example we've seen of a question in the passive voice. In the question, we have the verb be, then we have the subject, and then we have the past participle. I'm never invited to parties. A negative using never. So again, the never is an adverb, comes before the main verb. Actually, that's in Spanish. We don't want that because this class is not in Spanish. We got some examples in the past tense. This church was built 100 years ago. More examples in the past tense. These buildings were built 100 years ago. So this one is singular, so we're using was, and this is plural, so we're using were. But it's verb be plus past participle. Another question. When was the bicycle invented? Question in the past, passive. We weren't invited to the party. Negative, past simple, negative, passive voice. And here I've got some other examples of different various tenses. The document is being sent right now. Present continuous. I am being sent to work in the London office. Present continuous. The dog was being washed when I got home. Past continuous, passive. Their cars were being washed while they were in the mall shopping. Past continuous, passive. The contract will be signed. Future, simple, passive. The documents will all be signed. Here I've got the adverb all, but it's the same, future, simple, passive. The bridge is going to be built. Here we're using the going to structure. This is the first time we've seen this one today. We're using the going to structure to talk about the future, but again, it's passive. New houses are going to be built in a neighborhood. Again, this is using going to talk about the future. So we say are going to be, followed by the past participle. The rights to his book have been sold for $250,000. Present perfect passive. A passport can only be issued with the modal verb can plus an adverb only, can be issued, past participle. Criminals must be stopped, passive, with the modal must. Okay, very good. Are you still there, Clementi?
Yes, sir.
Hi, yeah. So I think that's everything. Just got a couple more examples with by. Remember, we can have by. The Mona Lisa was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. Here I want to talk about the painting. Leonardo da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa. Here I want to talk about Leonardo da Vinci. But apart from that, they mean the same thing. I was bitten by a dog. Here I want to talk about me. What happened to me? A dog bit me. Here the focus is on what the dog did. So that's it. I just have some questions for Clementi because Clementi is the only person in the conference. I don't know what's happened to the other members of this channel. There's a lot of members of this channel, but most of them never appear in the conference. Remember, if you wish to participate in the conference, in the class, you can join my channel. I think I'll just put the link right now in there. If you want to join my channel, the link is in the chat right now, and you can participate in the conference. So let's go to the questions and put the sentences into the passive. These sentences in the, these are not sentences, they're just cues. So the house clean every day. So this sentence needs to be in the present simple because it says every day. So Clementi, can you put this, or anybody in the chat? Can somebody in the chat put this into the passive or form the sentence?
The house clean it every day.
Missing one word, Clementi. Missing one word. The house cleaned every day. You are missing one word. What's the word that you're missing? What word is missing? Here. There should be another word here. You need another word here. Anybody in the chat? Yeah.
The house was cleaned.
Well, every day means that it's going to be in the present simple. And was it in the past?
The house is cleaned.
Yeah, very good. The house is cleaned every day. These buildings clean every day.
These buildings are cleaned every day.
Very good. Yeah, this time it's plural. So we need to put, instead of be, instead of is, we're going to use are. Butter make from milk. Butter make from milk.
Butter is made from milk.
Nearly. The only problem is that make is not regular. Butter is, what's the past participle?
Butter is made.
Very good. Yeah, made from milk. Very good. Bread. And also got Irma with the correct answer. You got the answer to number 4, Clementi. Bread. You're going to start with bread, yeah? Or anyone in the chat? Bread. Yeah, Claudio's got the answer there. Is sold. Is sold in bakers. What about Number 5. This office not used very often. This office not used very often. This office not used very often. Any ideas, Clementi?
No, sir.
Okay, what about Claudia? Claudia and Irma. Yeah, this office is not, but we can use the contraction, say isn't used very often. This office isn't used very often. We allowed to smoke here. This is a question. This is a question. You can give me the answer to this one. Who can give me the answer to this one? Clementi, this is more difficult. Or anybody in the chat? Yeah, Irma. Very good. Question. Are we allowed to smoke here? Good. Number 7. Number 7. You've got another question, Clementi. Do you know the answer? Or somebody in the chat? Anybody? Anybody in the chat? I think I'll have to give the answer. It's very slow, the chat today. Very slow. Or maybe it's that tablet. Let me check here, see if I've got any answer in the chat. No, it's the same. Has anybody in the chat got this last one? No. How is this word? Yeah, Irma had just come up with the answer. How is this word pronounced? Good, very good. Last questions. So I can't use my office at the open. Sorry, I can't use my office at the moment. It is being painted. We didn't go to the party. We weren't invited. The washing machine was broken, but it's okay now. Using the verb repair. Can anybody do this? Can you do this one, Clementi? It. What tense do we need to put this in? Anybody? Has anybody got the answer in the chat?
It was repaired?
That's passive, but it's past. Here it says the washing machine was broken, but now, so now it's okay. So actually we need to put it in the present perfect. So if anybody, yeah, Irma has got the correct answer. It has been repaired. So you put it in the past, Clementi, but we need to put it in the present perfect. It has been repaired. The washing machine repair yesterday afternoon. So this time we need it in the past. So I think you just had the answer, Clementi. It's going to be the same answer.
Washing machine was repaired?
Yeah, very good. Was repaired. Was repaired yesterday. The washing machine was repaired yesterday. What about a factory is a place where things make.
Were made.
But it's not going to be in the past, Clement. It's going to be in the present because we're talking about things in general. So what do we say? Present with make. And we have one answer in the chat from Claudia and Iama and Nubia. And the answer is are made. Present. Good. Next one. How old are these houses? When, this is a question, when any ideas? When Clementi, the verb is build. What about in the chat? Does anyone have the answer in the chat? Can't get any answers from anybody. It's very slow. So I'm going to give you the answer because we're test taking. Yeah, Claudia, when were, but you missed the subject. They have been, no, it's past. We need to say, when were they, because you've got the they here because of question, when were they built? Is what we need to say here. When were they built? Next question, like a conversation. It's a question. The computer use at the moment. So what tense do we need to use for at the moment? What tense do we need to use for things happening now? Does anybody have the answer? What tense do we need to use for things happening now? Clementi, do you know what tense we use for things happening now?
No, sir.
Okay, let's see if anybody in the chat has the answer. We need to use the present continuous. The present continuous. Present continuous. Present continuous. Well, I'm going to put the answer because I'm using a computer. That's present continuous, but this is a question. This is the question. And what you've put there, Irma, is not passive. That's present continuous active voice. The answer is anyone, or could be someone, yeah, is anyone using the computer at the moment? Is anyone using the, actually that's not passive, sorry. I've done it wrong now, sorry, that's active too. Should be, is the computer being used? Sorry, I got confused there too. Is the computer being used at the moment? Is the computer being used at the moment? The alternative would be the way I said it, is anyone using the computer, which is probably actually more natural. It's what normal people normally say. Is anyone using the computer? But we could say like this, is the computer being used at the moment? Number 8. I've never seen flowers before. Sorry, I've never seen these flowers before. What? This one's going to be in the present simple. the present simple. So question in the present simple. Any ideas, anybody? Well, this class is coming up to an hour long, so I'm going to actually speed it up a bit. What are they called? And I think I'm going to do the last two because I'm running out of time. So I don't like the classes to go more than an hour because they can't be edited. My sunglasses, steel. My sunglasses were stolen at the beach yesterday. The bridge is closed at the moment. Anybody, Clemente, have you got the answer to this last one? It
was damaged.
Very good. Yeah, it was damaged last week. And the last one is going to be in the present perfect. And the last sentence is, it hasn't been repaired yet. Well, the yet is at the end, so we don't need that. Very good. So with that, I need to finish because this class is just coming up to an hour. So thank you very much, Clemente, for participating in the class. And thank you very much for everybody in the chat, Vanessa, Ian, Nubia, Claudia, Scarlett. And thanks for everyone else watching on YouTube. And I'll be back next Thursday because right now I have guests, so I'm only doing one live class a week. But I will be back with the next class in this intermediate level course, which actually is nearly finished because this is class 21. I don't think there's going to be more than like 25. And then after that, I'm going to start live classes level B2, upper intermediate. So have a nice weekend. See you next week. Goodbye.
Okay, teacher. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye, Clemente. Thanks for attending. Bye.